Marcus King had built everything from the ground up, from a tiny tech startup in his college dorm to becoming one of the youngest black billionaires in the world. He had faced his share of struggles. But he never imagined that buying a first-class ticket on a flight would lead to the most humiliating moment of his life. As he settled into his seat on Flight 762, bound for New York, he was looking forward to some rest. He had just closed a massive deal, a $500 million acquisition that would take his company King Tech to new heights. He adjusted his designer suit, put on his noise-canceling headphones, and closed his eyes. But then, "Excuse me, sir." Marcus looked up. A flight attendant, a blonde woman in her mid-40s with a stiff posture, stood beside him. Her name tag read Karen Whitmore. "Yes?" he asked, pulling off his headphones. "I need you to step off the plane." Marcus blinked, confused. "I think you have the wrong person." "No, sir. Some of the other passengers have expressed discomfort, and we reserve the right to remove any passenger at our discretion." Marcus frowned. He looked around. The other first-class passengers, a mix of older white businessmen and well-dressed travelers, were staring, some avoiding eye contact. "I've been sitting here minding my business," Marcus said, his voice calm but firm. "What exactly have I done?" Karen's lips pressed into a thin line. "Sir, I don't have to explain myself. If you don't comply, I'll have to call security." Marcus sighed. He could already see where this was going. He had dealt with this before. The subtle racism, the unspoken assumptions. But this was blatant. He looked at the gate agents, then at the security personnel who had just entered the cabin. He could fight it. He could cause a scene. But then he thought of something better. A slow smirk played on his lips as he grabbed his briefcase. "You'll regret this," he said simply, before standing up. As he walked off the plane, cameras were already rolling. Social media had its next big story. Marcus didn't even have to lift a finger. By the time he stepped into the VIP lounge, his phone was blowing up. His assistant, Jordan, was already calling. "Marcus, you're trending on Twitter. Some passengers recorded the whole thing. Boycott Skywings is already at 50,000 tweets." Marcus grinned. "Perfect. What's the airline's stock looking like?" Jordan was silent for a second. "It's dropping. Fast." Marcus sat back and thought for a moment. He had enough power to make a move. He could file a lawsuit, go public with his story, or he could do something even better. "Jordan, I want you to buy a controlling stake in Skywings Airlines, immediately." "Wait, you want to buy the whole airline? Number not yet? Just enough to make them listen to me?" Within 20 minutes, Marcus had secured a controlling interest in Skywings. The airline's executives were now scrambling. The media was already knocking on their doors. And Marcus? He was on his way back to the airport. Not as a passenger, but as their newest boss. The flight attendant's nightmare. Karen Whitmore had just finished her shift when she got the call. "Karen, we need you to report to corporate headquarters. Now." She frowned. "Is something wrong?" The silence on the other end made her uneasy. "Just get here immediately." An hour later, she was sitting in a sleek conference room at Skywings headquarters. The airline's CEO, a nervous-looking man in his 50s, was sitting across from her. Several executives were present, their faces grim. Then the door opened, and in walked Marcus King. Karen felt her stomach drop. He wasn't in the first-class seat anymore. He wasn't a passenger. He was the new owner. "Miss Whitmore," Marcus said, sitting at the head of the table. "Do you know why you're here?" Karen swallowed. "Sir, I was just following protocol." "Protocol?" Marcus repeated, his tone sharp. "Tell me, Karen, what exactly did I do that made you uncomfortable?" Karen opened her mouth, but no words came out. "Did I raise my voice?" Marcus continued. "No, sir," she mumbled. "Did I break any airline policies?" "No, sir." "Then tell me, Why was I removed? The room was silent. Karen's face turned red. Marcus leaned back, looking at the executives. I own 51% of this airline now. That means I make the decisions. The CEO shifted uncomfortably. Mr. King, we want to handle this situation professionally. Marcus raised a hand, silencing him. He turned to Karen. You have two options. One, you resign immediately, and this story doesn't get any worse for you. Karen's heart pounded. Or two, Marcus continued, you stay and work under a company that will now be run very differently, with mandatory anti-discrimination training and new leadership, me included. Karen could barely breathe. You removed me from that flight like I was beneath you, but now you'll answer to me. The new era of Skywings. The fallout was massive. Skywings had to publicly apologize. The CEO resigned. Karen chose to quit rather than face the public backlash. But Marcus didn't stop there. He transformed the airline. New policies against racial discrimination. Higher diversity in hiring, especially in leadership roles. Better treatment of all passengers, no matter their background. And just to drive the point home, Marcus renamed the first-class section of Skywings. It was now called the King Suite, and whenever he flew, he made sure his face was on the in-flight magazine, reminding everyone who really ran the airline now. Epilogue. Justice served. 1 year later, Marcus was boarding another flight. This time he was greeted warmly by the staff. Welcome aboard, Mr. King, the new flight attendant said with a smile. Marcus nodded, taking his seat, his rightful place. As the plane took off, he thought back to that day, the humiliation, the anger, and how he had turned it into something powerful. Because when life tries to kick you out of the sky, you buy the whole damn airline.